Without objection, the gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it wasn't many years ago that coal miners relied on a small bird, a canary, to signal that conditions were toxic. The canary in the coal mine would become sick before the miners, who would then have a chance to either escape or put on protective respirators. Today, our ecosystems face dire threats. Toxic gases, chemicals, and the exploitation of our natural resources have jeopardized our air, water, lands, and the wildlife that inhabit our ecosystems. The telltale sign, the frog, the canary in the coal mine of our natural environment, is sick. Today, nearly 33% of the amphibian species are threatened, and estimates of species extinctions over the past several decades number in the hundreds. Losses of these species result from the usual suspects: land use change, exploitation, and disease. Why all the emphasis on frogs? Aside from the fact that these animals regulate their local ecosystems and control populations of insects that spread disease, they are important to our human health as well. Findings point the way toward new drugs for fighting diseases such as cancer and HIV/AIDS. Scientists have reportedly found chemicals that are naturally produced in the skin of various frog species that can kill the HIV virus. But these medicinal tools are disappearing at astronomical rates. That should tell us something. A frog's skin is relatively thin and permeable to water, so frogs are directly exposed to pollutants such as coal ash and environmental radiation. In addition, their eggs are laid in ponds and other bodies of water where they absorb chemicals. The frog, the canary in the coal mine of our natural environment, is first in line in an environmental pollution war. A war on the frog, the war the frog is quickly losing. If we don't heed this call, much like the miners who relied on the singing canary, we are destined for illness and ultimately shorter, unhealthier lives. Sadly, this degradation of human health and quality of life is already happening across the country. Colstrip, Montana is home to the second largest coal plant west of the Mississippi. One boxcar full of coal is burned every 5 minutes. The burning coal contains sodium, thallium, mercury, boron, aluminum, and arsenic, which is pumped out of the factory and into the air. The chemicals that aren't pumped into the air are caught in the factory scrubbers and then dumped with coal ash into giant settling ponds. These ponds are shallow, artificial lakes of concentrated toxicity which leach this poison into wells and aquifers. The sludge flows into the surrounding towns and countryside, bubbling up against foundations and floorings, cracking the floor in Colstrip's local grocery store. Ranchers in East Montana are now suing the plant for damages. Noxious water, they cite, is the only liquid that fills their wells and stock ponds. James Hansen, a renowned climate scientist, says Colstrip will cause the extinction of 400 species. But Colstrip burns on. Why? Because we have no national energy plan, and because there are currently no federally enforceable regulations specific to coal ash. This lack of federally enforceable safeguards is exactly what led to the disaster in Tennessee, where a dam holding more than 1 billion gallons of toxic coal ash failed, destroying 300 acres, dozens of homes, killed fish and other wildlife, and poisoned the Emory and Clinch rivers. From Tennessee to Colstrip and across the nation, the story is the same. We have no national conservation plan, no national energy policy, no regulatory reinforcement powers, and the biggest environmental disaster the country has ever faced, the Horizon Deepwater oil spill, has not propelled us any further toward passing a cap-and-trade bill through both chambers. Senator Reid said they were sidestepping a cap-and-trade bill for oil response legislation, but we haven't seen that either. Worse, as we mark 40 years of cleaner air under the Clean Air Act, it is heartbreaking that we must now fight to protect this monumental law from attack. Some in Congress are considering weakening this landmark law, seeking to bail out polluters who continue to lobby for loopholes and giveaways that put America's health and safety at risk. We are poisoning our ecosystems, our animals, and yes, our frogs. But we are poisoning our families, our communities, our nation, and our entire world. If we do not heed this canary song, we will only have ourselves to blame. And by the time we take notice, it may be too late. Thank you, and I yield back.